I was raised in a household where we always went to church. And it was fine, and it was a really great social event. And my family did a lot of stuff within the church and things, but there was no talk of salvation at all. And so it wasn't until probably early 30s that we started going to a church where they started talking about salvation. We had left our prior church, and my whole thing was we were going to go to every single church in Broome County. I'm going to try every possible church before we decide on a church. So when we were looking at churches, I'm like, I remember this church. I used to roller skate down in the basement. I want to just go see what this church is all about. And so we went to Bridgewater, and we never left.
Late last summer, we had new neighbors move in right next door to us, and it's a large family. There's 7 children, and it's a blended family.
I was working in the yard one Saturday, and one of the boys came over and just was bored. They'd moved in, didn't know anybody, they aren't taking part in any planned activities, and he had nothing to do. So I said to him, come with us to church. Here we go, just come.
They thought that sounded like a pretty good idea, and so it started out with the three youngest boys going with us to church, and would take them to Nurchie's afterwards and let them get whatever pizza they wanted. And so that went on for a month, 2 months. And then a couple of the older boys decided they wanted to go. So we started bringing them along with us, and then it just kind of grew from that. Our pizza budget really grew. So we kind of started getting sheet pizzas instead of individual slices. And so we still go just about every Sunday and get pizza, and that's become our routine. And we talk about the sermon, we talk about the different concepts that are preached. And they are just soaking it up. And that's our pizza ministry. And it works surprisingly well, and it's such a simple thing. And you don't have to be a great theologian or anything like that. You don't have to be an expert in apologetics. You just have to live the way Christ would like you to. And I think that's what they see in us, is this is a different way to live. I like how welcoming Bridgewater is. I like that it's a young congregation. You know, Ethan's quite young, so everything's fresh.
And it was neat having that kind of a church that we could bring the kids into. You know, because you're bringing in children that have never sat in church. They don't sit quietly. In fact, the very first time we were in church, we're here, church has started. Ethan says something about...
Sitting up front.
Yes. Ethan says something about Peter said, and one of the kids goes, who's he? Because, I mean, to them, you need a first and a last name and an explanation. You know, everybody else in the congregation knew what he was talking about. But it was just so neat, and no one in the congregation minds. When the kids were going to camp, they went to the youth overnight, and their family couldn't afford it by any means. And it was so wonderful to have people from within the congregation come to us and say, we want to help support these kids to send them. You know, and one person came and they bought the sleeping bags, and other people gave the cash to the church, and so the kids were able to go for that. And that was the first time they'd ever in their life done anything like that. I mean, that makes such a difference to them, because I don't know that they've really had a lot of adults that reach out and care. And the fact that there's the youth, they just love going to youth group on Sunday night. They were so bummed that it stopped for the summer, because that's the highlight of their week. You know, they go to church and they love that, and then youth group, and that to them that's their major part of their world.
So at Christmas time, because we didn't have service, Pastor Bob had put together a video, and it was basically a very straightforward salvation message. After that video, those 5 boys all accepted Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. And then since that time, 3 of them have been baptized. I've seen church through new eyes. Because I can look at it and say, I've been doing this for a couple of decades now. But then when you start looking at it through the way they're perceiving it, the way they're seeing it and hearing it, you kind of look at it just like they are. It's all fresh and new, and it's like, this is really an incredible story. And so, it kind of reinvigorates me. Hi, I'm Tim.
And I'm Pam, and we are making more and better disciples of Jesus Christ.